Hey guys, Brian here. Welcome back to the shop. So as work has progressed on putting together the C-Series for the Hyster, I realized I didn't have a lot of the small nitpicky items it was going to take to finish this swap up. Like I didn't have a fan for it, or the belt tensioner, or an alternator, or one of the water pipes for the bleed. The exhaust manifold I have is for an ISC. The bolt pattern is slightly different than a plain C, so it wouldn't bolt up, so I had to have an exhaust manifold. The flywheel I had was the wrong one for the bell housing, so it wasn't going to work with the existing bell housing. Didn't have a starter. Wanted to have an air compressor on it because a forklift with onboard air I'm sure would be handy. Who doesn't love to have air wherever they travel? I know I do, so. Don't really need this AC compressor, but hey, it came with it, so. Mainly just a lot of little items. Injection clamps, breather pipe, got a turbocharger. Wasn't the turbo I was going to use, but again, the turbo I was going to use was a T3 foot because it matched the manifold I had. This manifold's a T4, so the turbo I had wasn't going to work either. I could have put something together for that, but we'll see what kind of shape this one's in. If it's any count, we'll just use it. Pretty sure this motor's no count. Don't really know the history behind it. It came from a boneyard, so I bought it for the pieces. The rest of it's just extra, basically. As the pieces I got would have cost me more money than what I paid for the whole motor. So just do it that way. And I got brackets I'll need also, the front and rear mounting brackets for the motor mounts, because I didn't have those, so I'll be needing them for putting it in the forklift too. So again, just a lot of little pieces here that I needed to get this on its way. I did manage to get the starter motor to engage on here, and that's why my battery charger's over here. I had to have a battery boost to get enough amps out of one battery to really crank this thing over good. Thought maybe I started, but when I crank it over, it goes ka-tunk, 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 ka-tunk. So there's something catastrophic inside, I'm gonna say. Either it's got rods knocking, or a bolt off, or pistons come apart, or cranks broke. Really ain't no telling. It's kind of odd when I put the bar on front, just rock it backwards and forwards. I'm not picking that noise up, but when the starter motor's going and it's at speed, I get it. Could be too, maybe the camshaft's broke, because I do hear a little bit of valve noise that I don't normally hear cranking an engine over. So something has gone wrong. Don't know if pistons come up, smashed into it. Camshaft's broke, it's out of time. I ain't no telling. So I get it apart and find out, but I'm not here for that part of it. Although maybe it would have a good crank in it if my crank winds up being no good. But it mic'd out good, so I'm sure it'll be fine. So I'm gonna start getting this thing torn down and get the pieces robbed off of what I need for my motor. You know you're in for a good one when you get into something like this. So these engines can have multi-layer steel gaskets, but yeah, that's not how they're supposed to be. It appears to just be a lot of regular gaskets stacked up together in order to get this thing to somewhat seal up. So that's great. You can see that one there, they didn't even hit the hole. They're clear off. So half of that hole has to be obstructed. Good signs. Well, the torch heat and everything method's working so far. I managed to get the oil line off the turbo and the drain line off, even though the heads were almost gone off of one of the bolts. And I got 3 of the turbocharger to manifold mounting bolts loose, 1 to go. So Well, after hours with the torch, a whole lot of heating and cooling, I did get the exhaust manifold off, but I got 3 bolts broke off in the head in the process. I can actually, this one here, I can wiggle it, but it won't come out, which tells me the threads are probably all galled up. I don't know, I'm really a fan of this stainless hardware. It seems to be harder to get out than just regular hardware. So maybe stainless is not the answer for exhaust manifold bolts. But after all that, this manifold's kind of crummy looking, and you can see daylight under the flanges on some of them. So I know it's warped, I'd have to mill it. So I think instead what I'm gonna do is I just went to the pile and grabbed another one. I went to my stash and pulled out a beautiful, pretty much new manifold, so we'll use that on here instead. Well, I got all the hold down bolts loose on the injectors. I'm gonna try and crank this thing over and see if it'll blow them out. It might, but probably won't, because I don't really have a good starter on here. So just make the best and see what happens. Not how I'd recommend doing this, but it's what I got available handy, so. Definitely got a clunking in the bottom end. If I can't get this pump gear pulled off here. Give it a little heat. It did it. Yep, it's loose. Well, bolts are out, should lift off. Need a little help. Yep, it's the air pump. So, I have to get that off first, apparently. Well, that's how you get the pump off. So, once I got the air compressor removed, I was able to get the injection pump pulled out. So, I didn't have the bolts in there for that bracket. This bracket up here that holds the pump was broke. This line bracket's broke. The compressor rear mount had no bolt in it, so it wasn't doing anything. So it was walling around up there on the front cover. Just chewed this up to where it didn't want to come out. You can see where the pump's been wallering in here, and it's chewed on that cover too, because that big pump puts a lot of torque on this little flimsy cover with nothing else back here to support it. So got to rework all that for my motor. No doubt that's why this thing's been leaking oil everywhere. There's the factory P-pump gear. No keyway. And then, because those bolts were out, it's broke the bottom of the compressor off. So now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do there, if I'm gonna scrap the compressor idea on the forklift and leave all this stuff off, or do something else. Well, back over here on the Hyster's engine, some of my astute viewers a while back pointed out I failed to tighten down these rockers. So it's pretty handy of them to keep me on my toes there. Of course, wouldn't have done a lot of good tightening them down without push rods in them. But yeah, we'll overlook that part. People tend to skip through videos, so they miss out on a lot of stuff. But I understand, videos take a lot of time, so. Two new push rods, should you happen to need a part number for a A3 Cummins push rod, that's it. My calibrated torque wrench. All right, and my filler gauges and run some overhead, I guess. Well, for you squatch types, I guess I'll have to go back to torque these just for the fun of it. It says 41 foot-pounds. Valve lash is 12 on intake, 24 on exhaust. So let's check these and see if I got them tight enough. So. Yep, need a little more. All pretty even. They need about another 1/16 of a turn. Technically that's 42 foot-pounds, but close enough. So we're on 1 TDC. Yeah, ain't got enough lash. I like it. 12 and 24. The book will tell you can do these in 2 turns, but I just soon do them on down the line in firing order, which is 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, and 4. So that's the way I'm gonna do it. Got to roll the engine 2 turns to get it to anyway, so might as well do it as we go. My special engine turning tool. And you go 120 degrees. It's handy. Close enough for running valves. And number 5. It's actually loose. it's tight. Number 3 should occur 120 degrees later. Alright, should have the valves adjusted now. And the rocker bolts are all tight, so I guess technically I can put the valve cover on this thing for good. I'm going to do that though because I want to run the oil pump and be sure all this is oiling right first. But I will put it back on just to keep dirt out. Alright, everything's good and clean. Got my pump mounting bracket loose still so I can get the pump on, drawn down where it belongs, and then tighten the bracket up so that it's where it belongs. So it's not pulling anything out of line or messing it up. I guess I'm gonna get the pump over here and we'll slip it in. And I can see what I'm gonna have to do for a timing gear. But let's just get the engine on TDC first. It'll be easier right now. Alright, right there's the pin went in, so that's TDC. I already see I need to change this. I need to change this fuel return here on the back, but we'll see where we're at here as far as this pump key goes. Bracket must go on with the letters upside down. Should have paid more attention. Now we'll risk cutting that O-ring. Test fit number 3. There it is. That nut hold it in place. See where we're at here as far as the pump gear goes. Key weighs almost 90 degrees out to the side. Which would put this like that. Let's see where it's at. Well, I'm not sure how much y'all will be able to see here because this light will probably entirely blow this out, but I don't know if you can tell or not, but the keyway is almost exactly lined up. Yeah, can't really see. So I'll just tell you about it. What I found with this pump lock timed at 13 degrees is when the gear is on and the backlash is out in the direction of rotation like it'll normally be running. With it on this tooth, I've got it on. I'm probably about 16 degrees a time in advance. If I go back one tooth, which is an 8.5 degree change, then I would be at like 8 degrees of timing. So I would rather be at 16 than 8. 8 be pretty retarded. 16 should be fine. I mean, they run engines up in the 30s and 40s range all the time, but that's for more extreme applications than this is. But this engine will still turn 2800, so optimum timing for that would be close to 28 degrees at full tilt if you're trying to make power at that max RPM. But generally you kind of split the difference for the RPM range, so it's the happiest across the board. So 16 degrees is a good place for an engine that'll run between 1,000 and 3,000 RPMs. So if it's too advanced, it'll just be, it won't start as good, particularly when it's cold. But I don't think 16 will be too much. If I have to come back and make a keyway for it, I will, but I'm not really worried about it at this point. I think it's going to be just fine, especially because I've got really big injectors in this, which tend to like more advanced than stock smallish injectors because they have more of an ignition delay that occurs. So from the time they start spraying in fuel to the time it actually lights is a longer period of time, so the advance helps make up for that, so your actual combustion timing's the same even though your injection timing's advanced. So that's what I'm gonna do, because turning the pump shaft, I'll have to turn it down to get it to line up with the key with the engine on TDC, which is where it's at right now. So I'll pull this pump back out and put the key in it, and because of the way this is with this helical gear set, I can't just shove it on with it lock time because there's no provision for it to be able to move to rotate with these gears. So what I'll do is take the lock timing pin out, because I know even if it snaps or moves, as long as I get the key in it, I should be at 16 degrees, and any other time the pump goes off and goes back on, it's still going to be right back to that 16 degree mark every time. So it's kind of a foolproof way to do it. They could obviously make gears with a whole bunch of different timing spots for different applications, but that would be cost prohibitive and difficult to keep track of that the right gears was in every setup. So I'll get that done and bring you back because my camera battery's almost dead.